Hi, welcome back. I'm Michael Foley. Today I'm going to teach you how to scoot and properly stand up with Brazilian Jiu Jitsu. So we're going to look at two movements today and how they fit together. The first one is scooting. Now the way scooting works is this. I'm in a seated position like this. I'm going to shift my weight to one hip, bring my opposite foot as close to my hip as I can get it, and my weight's on my back hand. From here, what I want to do is I want to start by making sure that my hip is behind my shoulder. So I'm not leaning in, I'm actually getting my hip back. And this is going to be my starting position. And from here, what I want to do is I want to scoot by pushing off with this foot and this, when the toe on this foot, straight back this way. And from the side. You can also do this movement in reverse, and it looks like this. And from the side. This drill is part of our warm-up. We typically do this at the start of every class, every fundamentals class especially. And we'll get in lines at the head of the mat, and we'll practice zigzagging down the floor in our scooting movement. You always want to do this on a zigzag line and not a straight line, and in reverse. The second half of this lesson is how to properly stand up after you've scooted your hips away from your opponent. The reason why we stand up like this in Jiu-Jitsu, it's to keep your head as far away from your opponent as possible. And it looks like this. I start from the same position that I did my scoot from. Heels close to my hip. Hands firmly pressed into the floor. This hand's here in front of my face. I want my hips further back than my shoulders. Now from here, I'm gonna press my left foot, my right hand into the floor, and I'm gonna pick up my right hip. So my right hip right now is leaving the ground. Now I am able to rotate back and forth right here with my right hip. I'm gonna take this hip, I'm gonna sit back as far as I can with it, and I drag this foot along the floor. Step back behind my right hand and stand up. When you combine these two drills together, it should look like this. I scoot back on a diagonal line. On the last hip movement I did, I elevate my hip, sit back, and technical stand up. Again, 1, 2, 3. So for the next one, we're gonna need a partner for it. Here's how this works. Here's where scooting comes in handy against a standing attacker when I'm seated. So first things first, I need to face them. So I want to get my hands and feet between the two of us. I'm going to get in my scooting position here, and as my opponent advances towards me, I want to scoot back here. If my attacker advances faster than I can scoot back, we're going to use a kick to the knee to halt their advance forward. So he's advancing towards me here. I'm picking my hip up off the floor. I have movement here. And as he's putting his weight on his knee, I want to kick his knee and drive through. And from here, I can continue to scoot back. Or when I kick the knee, I'm going to use that, push with my hand, and technical stand up. So a note about your technical stand-up, I want to be in a power position in base on the floor, kind of like a pyramid. I want to be wide on the bottom, narrow at the top. So when my opponent tries to tackle me or push me over, he shouldn't be able to. It looks like this. So I'm going to use this line right here on the floor. My hip is on it, my right hip. I set up my position here, but the problem here, my shoulders are behind the line. So if my opponent puts their weight on my shoulder and just pushes back, they're gonna flatten me out to the floor. But if I make this slight adjustment of having my shoulder in front of my hip, when my opponent pushes, they're just pushing me into my base. Here's a good way to try this out. If my opponent's got their hand on my shoulder, so two hands on my shoulder, and I can't stand up, push hard, I know that I'm doing it wrong. What I should be able to do is, as they're leaning in, I should be able to base and technical stand up and not get tipped over. So putting it all together, the scooting and the technical stand up, it should look like this. My opponent's on my left, I'm gonna get my hands and feet between us, and I'm in my scoot position. As they advance, I'm moving back with my hip behind my shoulder. If they get too close, I'm gonna kick the knee, push off, technical stand up. If you wanna make this a game that you can train in class or a drill, what you can do is the attacker, give them the task of just putting their hand on your head. If my opponent, go ahead. If my opponent can touch my head, I lose and we switch. Go. So from here, I wanna make space, kick the knee, and stand up. Now it's their turn. So my opponent's down, and I'm just gonna walk slowly towards them, hand on the face, boom, and stand up. Just be careful when you do the kick to the knee. You actually want to kick below the knee on the shin, and it's just a touch with the ball of your foot. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. And if you have any jiu-jitsu related questions, just leave them in the comment section below. I'm Michael Foley. I'll see you on the mats.